Ethan Riker had always been fascinated by the stars. Since he was a child, he would spend hours staring through his telescope, imagining what life could be like on distant planets. So when the opportunity came for him to join the first human delegation to Luminaris, a distant planet known for its breathtaking cities and advanced civilizations, he did not hesitate. Humanity had sent diplomats, scientists, and engineers, but Ethan was there because he had shown an extraordinary ability to understand alien cultures, even from a distance. Luminaris was more beautiful than he had imagined. Its sky shimmered with pale green and gold hues, and the cities floated effortlessly above the planet's surface, connected by energy bridges that glowed softly at night. Trees with crystal-like leaves lined the streets, reflecting the light in a way that made the entire city seem alive. The delegation had landed near the Royal Palace, a massive structure of silver and blue spires, and Ethan could not help but marvel at its design. He had seen many alien architectures in simulations, but nothing compared to seeing one in real life. The first few days were a whirlwind of ceremonies, introductions, and strict rules. The Luminari were polite but distant. They moved with a fluid grace, their skin shimmering slightly under Luminaris's twin suns. Their eyes were larger than human eyes and held a depth that made Ethan feel like they could see into his thoughts. He knew he had to be careful, one wrong gesture, one misstep, and he could offend them without even realizing it. Among the Luminari, Princess Selara was the most enigmatic. She was young but carried herself with a confidence that was almost intimidating. Her long, silvery hair flowed like liquid light, and her robes shimmered with colors that changed as she moved. She did not speak much to the delegation, but when she did, her voice was clear and melodic, commanding attention without raising in volume. Ethan first noticed her from a distance. During a guided tour of the palace gardens, he caught glimpses of her walking gracefully among her people, giving small smiles or nods to those she passed. There was something about her, a calm yet powerful presence that made him pause. He found himself observing her more often than he realized, curious about how she carried herself, how she interacted with her people, how she seemed so different from anyone he had ever met. It was not long before his observations were noticed. One afternoon, while Ethan was sketching the palace gardens and trying to capture the delicate glow of the crystal leaves, a sharp voice cut through the soft hum of the fountains. "Why do you keep watching me, human?" He looked up, and there she was, Princess Selara herself, standing a few meters away, her expression a mixture of surprise and sternness. Her eyes seemed to pierce straight through him, and he could feel his face warming. I was, he began, unsure how to explain himself. "You were," she said calmly but firmly, folding her arms. "Every time I move, I see you somewhere nearby, watching." "Why? I have never seen your people up close. Your culture, your way of life, I wanted to understand it better. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable, I just wanted to learn." Instead, she seemed willing to give him a chance, as long as he followed the rules. Over the next few days, Ethan made an effort to keep his distance while still learning about the Luminari. He attended their classes on history and culture, watched their ceremonies from a respectful distance, and took careful notes on everything he observed. He learned that the Luminari were a peaceful species, but deeply loyal to their traditions and leaders. They valued wisdom, patience, and harmony above all else. Despite his caution, Ethan could not help but notice Selara from time to time. She moved with an elegance that made every gesture seem meaningful. Even when she was simply walking through the palace halls or tending to her advisors, she commanded attention effortlessly. Ethan reminded himself to stay professional, but his fascination was difficult to suppress. One afternoon, he was assigned to observe the Luminari's communication methods. The Luminari did not rely solely on spoken words. They used subtle gestures, changes in skin color, and small movements to convey meaning. Ethan found it fascinating and began sketching diagrams to help him understand. As he worked, he noticed Selara approaching the observation area. She moved silently, as if gliding across the floor, and stopped a few meters away, watching him quietly. Ethan felt a rush of nervousness. He had not realized she would be so close. "Princess Selara," he said, standing and bowing slightly, "I was just studying your communication methods. I will do my best." There was something about Selara that made him want to understand her world even more. He wondered if other humans felt the same way about the Luminari, or if this fascination was unique to him. As the days passed, Ethan continued to learn. He began to notice small details about the Luminari that others might overlook, the way they tilted their heads slightly when listening, the faint glow of their skin when they felt strong emotions, the subtle harmony in their speech patterns. Each discovery fascinated him, and he could not help but record it all in his journal. Selara, for her part, seemed to observe him in return. Occasionally, Ethan would catch her glancing at him from across the room, her expression neutral but curious. He could not tell if she approved or disapproved, but he felt that she was assessing him carefully, weighing his intentions. One day, a minor accident occurred in the palace gardens. A young Luminari child slipped near a fountain, and Ethan reacted instinctively. He reached out and caught the child before they fell, steadying them with a firm but gentle hold. Selara arrived moments later and watched silently. "You acted quickly," she said. "Human reflexes are interesting. Perhaps humans have more to offer than we thought." As the sun set over Luminaris, casting the crystal leaves in shades of gold and green, Ethan stood quietly in the gardens, watching the twin suns dip below the horizon. He thought about everything he had learned so far, the customs, the history, the people, and most of all, Princess Selara. He knew that understanding her world would not be easy, but he also knew that it was a challenge worth pursuing. In that moment, Ethan made a silent promise to himself. He would continue to observe, learn, and understand, not from a distance, not out of mere fascination, but with respect, patience, and a genuine desire to connect. Perhaps then, he thought, he could show the Luminari that humans were capable of more than they realized. And perhaps, he hoped quietly, Princess Selara might one day see him not just as a curious observer, but as someone worthy of trust. Ethan Riker had settled into a routine on Luminaris, but the planet still held surprises at every turn. After the incident in the palace gardens, he knew that his position was delicate. The Luminari were polite, but he sensed that any wrong move could undo the progress he had made. He also knew that Princess Selara's attention, though subtle, had become a constant in his day-to-day life. She watched him, not with suspicion alone, but with something that made him uneasy and curious at the same time. That morning, Ethan was assigned to attend a lesson on Luminari history. The lesson was held in a large chamber with walls that shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting soft, changing lights. Around the room, holographic images of Luminarises past floated midair, depicting battles, discoveries, and great leaders. The Luminari students moved gracefully, taking notes with instruments that glowed in their hands. Ethan tried to mimic their careful motions, feeling clumsy but determined. As he concentrated on a historical event involving the unification of two warring regions, he sensed someone approaching. Turning slightly, he saw Princess Selara standing just inside the chamber, her presence commanding and yet calm. She did not speak, only observed. Ethan felt his pulse quicken. He had to focus, yet his eyes kept drifting toward her, making him nervous. The instructor, a middle-aged Luminari with gentle silver eyes, began speaking, explaining the significance of the Great Accord, an agreement that had ended decades of conflict. Ethan tried to follow the words, but his mind kept returning to Selara. Her eyes met his briefly, and he felt an odd mixture of embarrassment and fascination. He wondered what she was thinking, but he quickly reminded himself that he was here to learn, not to read her mind. After the lesson, the students were asked to participate in a practical exercise. They had to reconstruct an ancient Luminari device using both logic and intuition. Ethan was paired with two Luminari students, and though the process was challenging, he began to notice patterns that humans often recognized faster than the Luminari. He suggested rearranging some components based on functional principles he had learned back on Earth. At first, the Luminari students were skeptical. They had been trained to follow traditional methods, and human ingenuity was not often part of their learning. But as Ethan's suggestions proved correct, their expressions shifted from doubt to surprise. Princess Selara watched quietly from the side, her eyes narrowing slightly as if analyzing the outcome. When the exercise was complete, the instructor praised the team's effort. "You have all shown excellent understanding," he said, "and this human has contributed in ways that are unusual." His eyes briefly met Ethan's with a faint smile. Selara stepped forward. "Human, your methods are different," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Your approach is not something we are accustomed to, yet it works. Why?" "Humans learn by experimenting and adapting. We try, fail, and try again. Sometimes we find solutions others overlook because we think differently." He felt encouraged, but also aware that he had to prove himself further. He realized that his curiosity about Celara was no longer just personal. It had become part of his mission to understand Luminaris and its people. Later that day, Ethan was exploring the palace's observation decks when he noticed Celara walking alone through a corridor lined with glowing panels. The panels displayed images of the planet's history, but they also responded to movement, changing patterns as someone passed. Celara moved gracefully, her attention focused but her eyes occasionally flicking toward the walls. Ethan followed at a respectful distance, trying to stay unseen. Without warning, one of the panels emitted a soft alarm. Ethan reacted instantly, stepping forward to press a hidden control he had noticed during his earlier observations. The alarm stopped. Celara turned, her eyes widening slightly, but she did not scold him. "You reacted quickly," she said, her voice measured. "Humans often act before thinking. Sometimes this is dangerous, but in this case, it was helpful." I just wanted to stop the alarm. I didn't mean to interfere." He was no longer just a curious observer in her eyes. He had become someone capable of quick thinking and problem-solving, someone who could contribute meaningfully to her world. Over the next few days, Ethan was assigned to assist in various tasks within the palace. He helped calibrate energy fields for the floating gardens, repaired minor malfunctions in the palace's communication systems, and even assisted in organizing cultural exhibitions for visiting dignitaries. Each task was an opportunity to demonstrate his skills, but also an opportunity to learn more about the Luminari. Celara observed quietly during each task. Sometimes Ethan caught her watching him from a distance, her expression unreadable. Other times she approached and asked questions, testing his understanding of Luminari methods. Ethan appreciated the challenge, though it made him nervous. He wanted to impress her not just as a human, but as someone worthy of respect. One evening, as the twin suns of Luminaris began to set, casting golden light across the palace, Celara invited Ethan to walk with her in the floating gardens. The gardens were ethereal, with streams of liquid light winding through crystalline trees. Ethan marveled at the beauty but also remained cautious, aware that this was a rare opportunity. "You have been observing us for many days," Celara said, her voice calm. "Yet you are still human, your curiosity is persistent. Why do you wish to understand us so deeply?" "I want to see if we can work together, not just as visitors but as partners. And I do not expect immediate trust. I am willing to earn it slowly, one step at a time." As they approached a small bridge over a stream of shimmering water, Celara stopped. She looked at him with a mixture of curiosity and amusement. "Human, you are persistent. You continue to watch, to learn, to adapt. Few outsiders would have the patience. I want to earn your respect, Princess Celara, not just observe from afar." The ceremony was elaborate, with music, dance, and holographic displays. Ethan watched carefully, noting every gesture, every subtle signal that the Luminari used to communicate meaning. During the ceremony, an unexpected technical problem arose. One of the floating platforms began to wobble, and several participants were at risk. Ethan reacted instinctively, running forward to stabilize the platform using a combination of human strength and quick problem-solving. The participants were saved, and the ceremony continued without further incident. Celara approached him afterward. Her expression was serious but not angry. "You act quickly, human, sometimes recklessly yet effectively. This is unusual. Your abilities are surprising. Perhaps there is more to you than mere curiosity." She was not just a royal figure. She was intelligent, observant, and capable of seeing beyond appearances. Ethan knew that the road ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges, misunderstandings, and cultural barriers. But he also knew that he had begun to earn Celara's respect, and perhaps in time the respect of her people. As he gazed out at the glowing horizon of Luminaris, Ethan felt a renewed determination. He would continue to observe, to learn, and to adapt, not just for himself, but for the possibility of a new understanding between humans and Luminari. And somewhere deep inside, he could not help but wonder if, one day, Princess Celara might see him not just as an outsider, but as someone who belonged here, someone capable of making a difference. Ethan Riker had grown more comfortable on Luminaris over the past weeks, yet the planet still held mysteries he could not fully understand. The Luminari were polite, graceful, and intelligent, but their ways were subtle and layered with meaning. Every gesture, every word, every glance could hold significance. Even Princess Celara, who had begun to tolerate his curiosity, remained a puzzle. One morning, while observing a holographic display of Luminaris's energy networks, Ethan noticed something unusual. Certain energy streams near the planet's northern hemisphere were fluctuating unpredictably. The display pulsed in irregular patterns, warning of instability. Ethan frowned. His training in physics and engineering told him this was not normal. He approached the supervising Luminari technician. "These energy patterns, they seem unstable," he said carefully. "Could this lead to a malfunction? The consequences could be serious." People moved quickly but calmly, as if they had practiced this scenario many times before. Ethan's pulse quickened. Something was happening, and it was not minor. Princess Solara appeared almost instantly, her expression serious. "Report," she demanded. Her voice carried authority, yet Ethan noticed a hint of concern beneath the calm exterior. The elder technician spoke quickly. "Princess, energy streams in the northern sector are collapsing. If we cannot stabilize them, it could cause a planetary disruption. If we redirect the energy and adjust the flow manually, we might be able to stabilize it before it spreads." He instructed the engineers to reroute power, adjust output, and recalibrate conduits. The process required speed, precision, and careful coordination. As they worked, Ethan noticed Solara moving among the engineers, offering guidance and support. She did not interfere with his commands, but her presence was a reminder of the stakes. He knew that failure was not an option. Hours passed. Ethan's mind worked tirelessly, calculating energy flows, predicting weak points, and anticipating possible failures. Sweat ran down his forehead, but he did not stop. Slowly, the readings began to stabilize. The alarms quieted and the walls stopped shimmering. The immediate danger had passed. Solara approached him once the situation was under control. Her expression was calm, but her eyes betrayed a deep respect. "Human, your actions have prevented a disaster. You acted quickly and with understanding. Few outsiders could have done this." "I couldn't have done it alone." He was no longer merely an observer or assistant. He was a valued contributor, someone whose insights could save lives. Even the other members of the human delegation noticed the shift. Ethan felt a mixture of pride and humility. He had always known humans were adaptable and resourceful, but seeing it recognized by an alien civilization was a feeling beyond words. One afternoon, Solara summoned Ethan to the palace observation tower. The city stretched beneath them, the floating structures glowing softly in the light of Luminaris's twin suns. Solara stood beside him, her eyes on the horizon. "There is something you should know," she said. "The instability you helped prevent, it was not natural. It is caused by an anomaly in space approaching our planet. We do not fully understand it, but it could threaten Luminaris if we are unprepared. Then we need to study it, map its energy patterns, and create a plan to counteract it. We can combine your technology with human problem-solving methods. We might have a chance. We must act quickly." During long hours of work, Ethan noticed how different human and Luminari thinking could complement each other. Humans relied on intuition, experimentation, and rapid adaptation. Luminari relied on precision, tradition, and careful analysis. When combined, the two approaches created solutions neither could have achieved alone. One evening, exhausted from hours of calculations and tests, Ethan stepped outside the research facility. The twin suns were setting, casting long golden beams across the city. He thought about how far he had come, from a curious observer to someone trusted with the planet's safety. Solara joined him, moving silently beside him. "You have worked well, human. Perhaps I underestimated your species. Your presence here, your courage, it has shown me that humans are capable of more than I imagined." Ethan, Solara, and the research team coordinated the deployment of energy shields, stabilization arrays, and protective barriers. Ethan's human intuition proved invaluable. He noticed a small instability in the shield alignment that the Luminari had overlooked. Acting quickly, he recalibrated the array, preventing a potential failure. The team followed his lead, and together they stabilized the northern region. Solara watched him closely. "You acted decisively, human. Your courage and insight, you have proven yourself today." Yet for the first time, he felt that he had earned not just the respect of Princess Solara, but the trust of an entire civilization. Over the next few days, the anomaly continued to test their defenses. Ethan worked tirelessly, sometimes alongside Solara, sometimes leading small teams of Luminari engineers. Each challenge required quick thinking, coordination, and bravery. Every success reinforced the bond between humans and Luminari. One afternoon, while reviewing energy flow patterns, Ethan realized a way to predict the anomaly's next movement. He explained his plan to Celara and the senior scientists. It required precise timing, coordination across multiple energy hubs, and trust in human adaptability. Celara studied the data carefully. Your method, unconventional, yet it has merit. We will follow your plan. Human, your presence here has changed the way we see your kind. You have courage, intelligence, and the ability to adapt in ways few could imagine. Perhaps humans are not merely observers in the universe. Perhaps you are partners. Thank you, Princess Celara. I only wanted to help and learn, but it means a lot to hear you say that. Perhaps this is the beginning of a new era. And somewhere deep inside, he realized that this partnership, this trust, was only the beginning. The days following the first encounter with the anomaly were tense on Luminaris. Ethan Riker had grown accustomed to the rhythms of the planet, the delicate balance of its culture, and the presence of Princess Celara. Yet the anomaly remained a looming threat, unpredictable and powerful. Every day brought new challenges, and every day tested both human ingenuity and Luminari precision. Ethan woke early one morning to the soft glow of Luminaris's twin suns. He reviewed the data collected overnight. The anomaly had shifted slightly, forming a pulsating vortex near the northern energy hubs. The fluctuations were subtle, but the potential danger was immense. If left unchecked, entire cities could experience catastrophic energy surges. He quickly moved to the control center, where the Luminari engineers were already at work. Celara arrived shortly afterward, her robes flowing behind her as she moved with a grace that always seemed effortless. She did not speak immediately, instead scanning the energy readings with her sharp, silver eyes. "We must act fast," Ethan said, pointing to the vortex on the display. "Its path is unpredictable, but I believe I can stabilize it using a combination of human rapid response strategies and your energy arrays. We will follow your guidance." Her voice was calm, but there was a weight to her words, a trust that Ethan felt both honored and responsible for. The team moved quickly. Ethan coordinated engineers at multiple energy hubs, directing them to adjust power outputs and reinforce stabilizers. He noticed minor inconsistencies in the Luminari's calculations, tiny details that could have been overlooked because their approach relied heavily on tradition and rigid protocols. Humans, he realized, often excelled in flexible thinking, and he used that adaptability to anticipate problems before they arose. Hours passed. The vortex pulsed dangerously close to the northern city, and the city's protective barriers flickered under the strain. Ethan noticed a weak point near one of the energy relays. "We need to reinforce this junction now, or the array could fail," he shouted. Engineers moved swiftly under his direction, rerouting energy and stabilizing the junction just in time. Celara observed quietly, her expression serious but approving. She stepped closer to Ethan. "Human, you remain calm under pressure. Your decisions are precise. This is remarkable." "Adaptation, yes. Perhaps this is what humans excel at. You think differently, yet your logic complements ours." Their precision was unmatched, but when unexpected events occurred, they hesitated. Humans, in contrast, thrived in uncertainty, reacting with creativity and speed. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting golden light across the floating cities, Ethan found a moment to speak with Celara privately. They stood on a balcony overlooking the palace gardens, which glowed softly under the planet's ambient energy. "You have done more than I expected, human," Celara said. Her voice was gentle, almost contemplative. "Your presence has changed the way my people view humans. You are not merely observers. You are capable of action, courage, and understanding. I'm only doing what I can to help. Your people are brilliant. I've learned so much from them, but I think we can achieve even more if we work together." It expanded into a swirling mass of energy, its pulses disrupting communication arrays and causing minor structural tremors. Ethan quickly gathered a team, including both human engineers and Luminari specialists. He developed a strategy that required precise timing, coordination, and trust in both human adaptability and Luminari precision. The plan involved creating energy conduits to channel the anomaly's power into a series of stabilized nodes, reducing its impact on the cities. Ethan coordinated the teams, giving real-time instructions while adjusting calculations on the fly. At one critical moment, a surge threatened to destroy one of the main hubs. Ethan reacted instinctively, climbing the structure to manually redirect the energy. Sparks flew around him, and the ground trembled beneath his feet, but he focused, recalibrating the conduits and preventing a catastrophic failure. Solara arrived shortly after, assessing the situation. "Human, your bravery is extraordinary," she said, her voice calm but filled with admiration. "Few would risk themselves like this for others." Engineers cheered quietly, their faces filled with relief and respect. Ethan felt a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. Solara approached him, her eyes shining with a mix of pride and something deeper, almost like admiration. "You have proven humans are capable of more than we imagined," she said. "You have courage, intelligence, and the ability to adapt. These are qualities my people should learn to respect. Perhaps this is the start of a new era." Ethan's actions had earned their trust, and his presence became an accepted part of the planet's defense strategy. One evening, after another long day of monitoring, Solara invited Ethan to walk through the palace gardens. The air was filled with the soft hum of energy streams, and the crystal leaves glowed under the fading sunlight. They walked in silence for a while, the beauty of the gardens providing a calm contrast to the chaos of recent days. "You have changed the way I see humans, Ethan," Solara said finally. "I expected curiosity, perhaps ingenuity, but I did not anticipate courage, quick thinking, and a willingness to act for the good of others. You are exceptional. I only wanted to help and learn, but your guidance and the skill of your people made it possible. I could not have done this alone." There was mutual respect, a shared understanding that went deeper than words. He knew that in the days ahead they would face even greater challenges, but he also knew that together they could overcome anything. The night fell over Luminaris, the twin moons casting silver light over the floating cities. Ethan gazed at the horizon, feeling a sense of purpose and belonging he had never experienced before. The anomaly remained, but he was ready. With courage, intelligence, and the trust of Princess Solara and her people, he knew that humans could rise to meet challenges no one had thought possible. And somewhere deep inside, Ethan realized that this partnership, this trust, was more than a mission. It was the beginning of a bond that could change the course of both human and luminary history forever. The anomaly loomed on the horizon, larger and more unpredictable than ever. Its swirling energy cast eerie reflections over Luminaris, and the floating cities trembled slightly under its power. Ethan Riker had spent countless hours analyzing its behavior, coordinating defenses, and guiding the Luminari in preparations. Yet he knew this would be the ultimate test, not just of his knowledge, but of human courage and adaptability. Princess Solara stood beside him on the palace balcony, her eyes fixed on the anomaly. "It grows stronger each day," she said softly. "Even with our combined efforts, it may overwhelm us." He had come to Luminaris as a curious observer, fascinated by an alien world and its princess. Now, he was their strategist, someone whose decisions could mean the difference between survival and disaster. He took a deep breath and began organizing the teams. The Luminari engineers and human delegation worked side by side, following Ethan's instructions. He divided the city's defenses into sectors, assigning teams to stabilize energy conduits, reinforce protective arrays, and monitor the anomaly's fluctuations. Every movement was crucial. A single mistake could have catastrophic consequences. Hours passed as the teams labored tirelessly. Ethan moved between hubs, offering guidance, recalibrating systems, and keeping morale high. He noticed the Luminari watching him closely, their expressions a mixture of respect and cautious hope. They had seen humans act with curiosity and intelligence, but now they were witnessing human courage under immense pressure. At one point, a sudden surge from the anomaly disrupted one of the main energy relays. Sparks flew, and the surrounding platforms shook. Ethan acted instinctively, running toward the relay. With quick thinking and precise adjustments, he rerouted the energy flow, preventing a collapse that could have caused widespread damage. Solara arrived moments later, observing the scene. "Human, you are fearless," she said. "Few would act so quickly, so decisively. We can't afford hesitation now. My human methods rely on adaptability and quick adjustment. If we synchronize them, we can predict and counteract the anomaly more effectively." Energy conduits were synchronized, protective arrays adjusted in real time, and monitoring teams tracked every pulse of the anomaly. Ethan moved between stations, offering guidance and recalibrating systems as needed. At a critical moment, the anomaly shifted unexpectedly, targeting one of the central energy hubs. The surge threatened to destabilize the city entirely. Ethan did not hesitate. He sprinted toward the hub, assessing the damage and calculating adjustments on the fly. With precise movements, he stabilized the main conduit, redirecting energy and preventing a collapse. The Luminari watched in awe. Their systems were advanced, but the human's intuition and quick decision-making had saved the hub. Solara's eyes met his, and she allowed herself a small, genuine smile. "You are extraordinary, Ethan. Your courage and skill, you have saved us all." By the end of the day, it had been pushed back, its energy dissipating into harmless fluctuations. The city was safe, and the people of Luminaris could finally breathe freely. Engineers cheered, their voices carrying across the glowing platforms. Ethan allowed himself a moment to rest, leaning against a console as he watched the twin suns set. Solara approached him once more. "Human, you have proven something remarkable, not just to me, but to all of Luminaris. You have shown courage, intelligence, adaptability, and a willingness to act for the good of others. These are qualities my people will now respect in humans." He had always believed in the potential of humanity, but hearing it acknowledged by an alien civilization, especially one as advanced and disciplined as the Luminari, was beyond anything he could have imagined. "You have earned a place here," Solara continued. "Not as a visitor, not as an observer, but as a partner. Your presence is no longer extraordinary, it is valued." Repairs were made to energy arrays, communication systems were tested, and minor malfunctions corrected. Ethan continued to work alongside the Luminari, but the tension had lifted. There was a sense of achievement, of cooperation, and of mutual respect that had not existed before. During this time, Ethan and Solara spent more time together, not just in crisis situations, but in observing and learning from each other. He began to understand the subtleties of Luminari culture, the meaning behind their gestures, the significance of their rituals, and the depth of their wisdom. In turn, he shared human perspectives, teaching Luminari ways of problem-solving, improvisation, and creative thinking. One afternoon, they walked through the palace gardens, now fully restored after the anomaly's disruption. The crystal leaves glowed under the soft light of the twin suns, reflecting a spectrum of colors across the pathways. Solara spoke quietly, almost to herself. "You have changed the way we see outsiders," she said. "Your presence here, your courage, your intelligence, it has opened our eyes. Perhaps humans are more capable than even we believed. Together, we can achieve more than either species alone." He had come to this planet as a visitor, curious and eager to learn. He had faced challenges that tested every skill he possessed, and he had proven the worth of humanity in ways that few had ever imagined. Solara turned to him, her eyes reflecting both respect and a quiet warmth. "Ethan, your courage and determination have saved my people and our civilization. You have shown that humans are capable of greatness. You are no longer an outsider. You are part of our story now. Together, humans and Luminari can face anything the universe throws at us." Rumors spread quietly at first, then more openly, about the human who had helped save the planet. Ethan remained focused on the work, but he could not help noticing the respect in the eyes of the people around him. He had begun as a curious observer, fascinated by the alien princess and her world. Now he had become a trusted partner, someone whose presence mattered and whose actions had lasting impact. One evening, as he stood on the palace balcony with Solara, he looked out over the glowing city. The anomaly was gone, the energy flows stable, and the floating platforms shone under the twin moons. For the first time, he felt a deep sense of accomplishment and connection. "You have truly shown us the value of humans, Ethan," Solara said softly. "Perhaps this is a lesson we will not forget. Courage, intelligence, adaptability, these are qualities that will now define how we see your people. Humans and Luminari, working as partners, can achieve what neither could alone." He was a human who had proven the worth of his species, someone who had earned respect and trust in a world far beyond Earth. And somewhere deep inside, he knew that this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, full of mysteries and challenges, but with courage, intelligence, and the support of allies, alien or human, anything was possible. For the first time in his life, Ethan felt that humanity had truly earned its place among the stars.